Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the virtual Weight and Fat Loss Summit. I am Walter Lewis, your fitness coach, and today we have a very special guest, Dr. or guest speaker, Dr. Eleni Bousalis, who is a licensed clinical psychologist and co-owner of Delray Psych and Wellness. And today she's going to be talking to us about hypnosis for weight management. So, Eleni, how are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you.
Good. So in the past, I know from what I've heard from clients, they kind of skeptical about hypnosis. I know some
hmm
people think of hypnosis of waving a clock in front of you and saying, "Are you
hmm
sleepy? Are you sleepy?" Or they
Yeah,
think of it as something demonic or some sort of sorcery. But I can just tell from when we did this hypnosis session, a couple of weeks ago, the techniques that you gave actually work. And so today, I really want to focus on, if you could just tell us what hypnosis is.
Okay. So unfortunately, there's a lot of myths and misconceptions about hypnosis that leads people to be suspicious of it at times. But really, what it is a form of deep of concentration, and we go in and out of hypnosis throughout the day, just on our own. We go in and out of trance. Anytime we find ourselves immersed in an activity or doing something where we lose track of time, such as driving somewhere. It's called highway hypnosis. And then you arrive where you're driving and you don't really recall how you got there. Or if you are watching a show and someone's talking to you and it's not really registering, you're not paying attention to them because you're so immersed in a show or a movie or a book, you're actually in a hypnotic trance. So
Okay.
it's not something so mysterious, although they like to kind of sensationalize that on
Right.
movies and TV.
Right.
And really, they say that all hypnosis is really self-hypnosis. It's just that the hypnotherapist is kind of guiding you, much like a personal trainer is guiding you to exercise. Although you're doing the exercise, the personal trainer is not lifting the weights for you. They're just kind of
Right.
guiding. So it works like that, and it's very similar to meditation. So a lot of people that meditate or have meditated sometimes find it a bit easier because it's very similar. The main
Mhm.
difference between meditation and hypnosis is that meditation is not really goal oriented. You're just trying to bring yourself into the moment. Whereas with hypnosis, there's really more a goal that you're focused on. So you're using this focused concentration in a way to access your subconscious mind so you can change behaviors.
Okay.
So what happens is when we get into this really relaxed state and focused concentration, our brain waves change. And there's this hypnosis has been done for thousands and thousands of years, actually. People don't know that. Like BC, it's been,
Mhm.
in Egyptian culture and Greek culture and all these different ancient cultures.
Right.
But so what happens is your brain waves change and your subconscious, the part of your brain that carries your habits and your beliefs and your memories and things like that we aren't really aware of all day, is
Mhm.
more accessible.
Okay.
So this is why a lot of times when people have a habit they want to break, they can't seem to find a way to break it, even though they know it's not good for them, like smoking or eating unhealthy foods. But when you are able to access that part of your mind because your brainwaves change, your subconscious mind is where these habits and unconscious motivators lie. So it gives us access to that.
Okay.
That's kind of how it works.
Okay. So, all right. So specifically for weight management, how does it
Mhm.
work, and what are some? If I don't want you to like give it away,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it is, but if you could just kind of talk about some of the tips or some of the things you do as it regards to weight management.
Okay. Yeah. So the program that I offer is it's both behavioral, so we try to get to increasing people's healthy behaviors, decreasing their unhealthy behaviors, and also getting to what's blocking them. So I do a 3-week program, and in that program we first start addressing the behaviors. So I will do a hypnosis, several hypnosis sessions, and one will deal with um, impulse eating. So this tendency to just grab something or eat because it's noon, or eat because you're at a party, or eat because you're depressed, and it's
Mhm.
we're going to go out and we're going to eat and we're going to drink. So there's all of these cues that we
Mhm.
have that we use to eat, to guide us into eating, that are not actually hunger. So
Okay.
so
Okay.
they're usually emotional and psychological and environmental reasons that we eat. Otherwise, we wouldn't really be overeating, or eating when
Right.
we're not hungry. So, so we started addressing how to decrease the impulse eating, how to recognize if you're truly physically hungry, or if you're eating out of habit or boredom, or sadness or depression or anxiety or loneliness, or all the various feelings that we
Okay.
feel. We also do some hypnosis sessions to have a person feel full quicker. So kind of a psychological, the mind-body connection, where you imagine your stomach smaller, the actual size
Mhm.
of your stomach, so you
Mhm.
actually need less food to feel full.
Okay.
We also address cravings. So there are certain foods we have that everyone has a trigger food that they find they have a difficult time not eating. And then once they do eat it, they overeat. It's like a food, their weakness, I guess. So
Mhm.
I do also a hypnosis session on that, on decreasing the cravings for our trigger foods.
Okay.
And then we get into like more deeper work. So that's just more the behavioral part of it. But then
Okay.
deeper, we get into more, um, how was food handled in your family? And
Mhm.
so what messages were you given as a child surrounding food, and how is that affecting your eating habits now? Or how is that affecting your exercise habits now? So, for example, um, there's a lot of, like, old timers, like, children are meant to be seen and not heard. So sometimes
Mhm.
people will stuff their feelings instead of express them. So
Right.
if you're stuffing your feelings, metaphorically, you're stuffing food too. Like
Right.
our habits are very metaphorical.
Right.
Um, or if, like in my culture, food is used for everything,
Mhm.
mourning, celebrating.
Yeah.
Um, if you're
Yes.
sad, oh, eat this, it'll make you feel better.
Right. And it's not just your culture. Most
Probably
cultures.
every culture, right?
Right.
Like every culture
Exactly.
has some of
Right.
these things for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So a few weeks ago when you did the coaching session, I remember you took us through, I don't know if it's cueing or process, but it was a part where you was talking about, think about the food that you really love that's not good for you. And you said to think of something disgusting.
Oh yeah.
And it was a tip that was used on the call that some of my clients use, and it actually worked. Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know, so I know one client was saying she hates hair being in her food. So she was thinking about, it was a brownie because she loves brownies. And she thought about the brownie being in a whole bunch of hair when she
Hmm.
wanted it. And it actually worked. Can you talk about that process? What is that called?
Oh, so that's called uh oh my gosh. It's called the extinguishing process, but I'm
Okay.
trying to think of how because what there it is there's a blending psychologically of the desirable food with a really undesirable
Okay.
substance. And so um we go into the hypnotic induction, and so that
Okay.
means you go through a relaxation. And
Okay.
then once you're relaxed and your brainwaves change and you're concentrating, then we combine the substance that is disgusting to
Hmm.
you psychologically with this food that you want, that you love eating. And it just somehow gets all blended together. And
Right.
we do the smoking. Actually, it works well with smoking. I've done it with like pretty good success in every time I use it, I think to varying degrees. So
Hmm.
some people will say, I never want to even walk into a bakery anymore because it just reminds me of this disgusting substance. And then
Right.
other people will tell me, well, I ate it, but it didn't taste so good. So I didn't really eat that much of it. So it affects people in different ways, but it's really effective.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was another part on the call. It was towards the end, and this is
Uh-huh.
late at night when we did the call, like close to 9 o'clock, and you were counting down. And I remember being kind of sleepy because my eyes were closed, and I
Hmm.
was thinking, I don't want to fall asleep on this call completely and start snoring because that would not be good. But as you were
Yeah.
taking us through the countdown process, and you began to saying that you're gonna, I can't remember how you said it, but basically you were saying you're gonna become more and more awake, or more and
Yeah.
more, and you're gonna open your eyes. And I remember when you said one, my eyes just opened.
Yeah.
So it actually, I mean, I was like, oh, this, I guess it is hypnosis. It worked
Yeah.
because
That's hypnosis.
it was like you're getting sleepy. All right, now you're awake, and you said one, and I woke up. And so,
Yes, totally.
can
So
you talk about whatever that process is? I don't know what it is, but it's almost like swinging the clock in front of your eyes. You're getting sleepy. You're gonna wake. You're gonna turn into a chicken or whatever. But anyway, whatever that was, it worked.
yeah. So that's the part where get into a really relaxed state, and then the brain waves change, and they go into alpha or theta. So it's kind of like a state in between sleep and awake, but you're
Okay.
still awake, even though you feel like you're about to fall asleep.
Right.
And it's so like interesting because oftentimes I talk about this on the call. People do actually look like they're asleep, like they're even snoring like
Right.
audibly snoring.
Right.
And I just keep going. I just keep going. I keep going. And what happens is all of that gets in. It's still being received.
Right.
And so I'm giving the suggestions, and then when I do the count, your subconscious mind is listening, even though the front part of your brain, the analytical part of your brain, is actually inactive, which is what we want, because that front part of our brain we need throughout the day to solve problems and focus and analyze things, but it's not really helpful in terms of our habits and things like that. So that part is shut down. You're kind of asleep, but the subconscious is still awake. So then when I bring back people back into the room, every single time, and I've
Hmm.
been doing this for 10 years,
Right.
the hypnosis part, people will pop right up and open their eyes.
Yeah, it
Even
worked.
though they've just been snoring.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so that happens, and then what they say is, oh, I didn't hear a word you said after this point. So like, let's say I've done a 20 or 30-minute session, they will say, I kind of lost track of what you were saying after 10 minutes after you said these things. And they said, well, did that work? And I say, yeah, it all went in. And then what happens by the time I meet with them next is that whatever behavior we were addressing has been affected. So it's kind of like what you just said. They're like, I don't think I'm really hypnotized. I think I'm just sitting here listening to you talk.
Right.
But then they start to feel some effect from
Yeah.
it, and then it's like it gets people more motivated because they're
Right.
like, well, this isn't really scary. It just
Right.
feels like relaxing, but I do
Right.
feel different.
Right.
So it works like that. And then the other thing I wanted to say about that is that when I was talking about that we go in and out of trance all day, one
Hmm.
of the main ways that we go in and out of trance is by what's called eye fixation. And so that means that at any point that you're like kind of staring at something straight ahead, and you're really concentrated and focused on it, particularly if it's a little bit above eye level, that's already inducing a hypnotic trance. And so that's one of the reasons why it's important not to eat when you're sitting in front of the computer working, or when you're on your iPad, because when you're staring at something like that for an extended period of time and concentrating, and then you're eating, you're actually trance eating. You're eating in a hypnotic trance. And
Okay.
so when you are engaged in an activity like that and you're staring at a computer screen, immersed, and yet you're eating, you're not tasting the food, you're not smelling the food, you don't know if you're full or not. You look down, the food is gone, you ate it all, and then you haven't actually really mindfully eaten anything.
Right.
And so a lot of times that's where we get ourselves into trouble, is when we do mindless eating.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really trans eating. That's why they say don't eat in front of the TV while you're
Right.
watching something, because
Right.
you're not focused on the food.
Right.
So we want to, so that's another thing that we talk about in the hypnosis for weight loss, is that um, to kind of break that trans eating and
Okay.
start being a lot more mindful and aware of not only like how hungry you are, but how full you are, and why you're eating, and what it tastes like.
Mm-hmm.
If you kind of don't even, you're not even really hungry anymore, but you're just eating because it's there. So it's this constant like checking in and just
Mm-hmm.
being mindful and aware of your body and of your physical hunger,
Okay.
and your emotional needs, and all of this that gets kind of lumped together.
Okay. Gotcha. So the program you have is it how many weeks is it?
So I've made it 3 weeks,
3 weeks.
and
Okay.
the program I put it together from a variety of other programs. So I've I've taken hypnosis trainings over the last like really 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
in all different approaches. So hypnosis is, there's different ways people use it. There's different ways that people induce hypnosis, and so I've taken different classes, and one of the classes was at a place that uses hypnosis for weight loss at the
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland Clinic,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a 6-week program.
Okay.
And so when I learned that program, I realized, combining all of the other things I had learned, that there was a lot of information in there that people didn't really find useful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they were coming for hypnosis for weight loss, but we were talking about things that I felt another discipline should talk about, like
Mm-hmm.
insulin levels and blood
Mm-hmm.
sugar, and what your liver does, and what your metabolism, how your metabolism is affected, and all these things. So I kind of like removed all of that, and I just
Okay.
kept it strictly
Simple.
to like a 3 week, it's 2 hours for 3 weeks. And then I record each session for them, that we do each hypnosis session. And so in between, they will boost it. So it's kind
Okay.
of like, a vaccine, you go in for a booster every so often. Well, it's this hypnosis is the same thing. It's like you do the session, but then it's good to have a booster session in between within that week. So I have people listen to it on their own, journal. Um, and also it's important to keep a food log, which is why it's really good to work with a nutritionist. It's good to work with a trainer at the same time. It's good to
Mm-hmm.
have like a multidisciplinary approach.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, as you have seen, it's like you have people coming in to work out, but then they're not eating well,
Right.
right? Or they're eating well, but
Not
then
working out.
they're not working out.
Right.
Or like me, my issue, the thing that I deal with is the time and the trigger foods, right?
Right.
Like sugar. And
Right.
so, oh, why can't I stop eating that sugar? So it's really like combining, as you have found, all these
Mhm.
different approaches to
Right.
what blocks people from reaching their goal.
Okay. So we got a
Hmm.
few minutes before we close out, but just to give folks an idea of what the process looks like. So let's say a person comes to you and say, I want to lose 25 pounds. So what does that hypnosis process or the programming looks like?
Okay. So if it's in a group setting,
Mhm.
I will just um, like I said, I will do the program how I have set, where I teach them self-hypnosis. We
Yes.
talk about all of these triggers to overeating and emotional eating, how to detect that you're physiologically hungry rather than emotionally hungry. So we go through all of those, the 2 hours for 3 weeks. And then I kind of like, I see what comes up for them in the sessions. I see what comes up for them when they're journaling. And then as we're going through the process, I make recommendations on, well, maybe you should see a nutritionist, or like, if you're not exercising, you should probably get some help with that. Or so I kind of see how it goes. Sometimes people come to me and they don't want to do it in a group setting. They want to do one-to-one.
Okay.
And so that's a little bit different, because although I do the same program, it's more personalized.
Right.
So I'll get into their family dynamics. I'll get into more like their personal history
Mm-hmm.
that I can't get so deep into in a group setting.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then I'll usually the last day I'll tailor the hypnosis exactly to them. So, it's not just like for the group, but it'll be more like if they tell me they have a specific trigger, like I eat in the car and I tend to have wine for dinner, and I like to whatever, like whatever
Right.
their trigger is. And so then I can give some extra suggestions in there to
Right.
address some of those things as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Uh-huh.
So where can people find out more information about you and what you
So
do?
our practice is
Website.
in Alexandria, Virginia. It's
Mhm.
called Delray Psych and Wellness. It's delraypsych.com. And we have a wait list, but we're hiring more therapists. We're creating more programs. And I'm Dr. Busalis. And then we also have Dr. Ang, who does mindfulness training.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of different therapists here that address different needs. We have acupuncture. There's a naturopath physician that we sometimes refer to in our building. There's a massage therapist that we refer to in our building. So we kind of all have like a little team that we refer
Yes.
to at
Yeah.
Delray site. Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
that is awesome. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for being a guest speaker on this
Thank
virtual
you.
summit. And then also, you're going to be a part of the 2020 coaching program that I have, my weight and
Yes.
fat loss coaching program. Um,
Hmm.
so I just want to thank you again, and I will talk to you soon. And you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Bye.
Dr. Busalis. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.